You're the pit bull of comedy.
Yeah,
that's why we call you Mr. Worldwide.
I'm right back, Mr.
And
305.
and it ain't because you're traveling,
Mr. 305.
Mr. 305.
Why is Tone Loc not acting anymore? Should we call him?
That's a good question.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Get him on the horn.
Should I call Tone Loc?
Tone, what are you doing?
Yes. Do you think
Not right now in life.
Yeah,
what are
Tony
you doing?
Tone.
Where you at?
I think he must have made enough money with Funky Cold Medina and Wild Thing that maybe he doesn't need to work anymore.
You hope that's the case.
He was the first rapper to go platinum.
Really?
Yeah.
That's badass.
I know.
That's like how who's the fucking dude? Flo Rida is the most like successful rapper of all time. I feel like I heard that.
What? How?
I might be in an era of just making up facts.
But by the way, given the state of affairs of the country, I'm fine with it.
But no, I think because if you think about like, you can play his records anywhere. His shit is in commercials. They're playing it at football games. They're playing it at,
Same thing with Pitbull, though.
Yeah. Yeah, they just tap the commercial vein and they're just like off to the races.
So when are we making a rap song for commercials?
We should make a commercial podcast where it literally just...
How do we make this a commercially viable podcast?
It'll connect with everybody.
Yeah, I'm in.
It has a little something for everyone.
Straight down the middle. No one loves it, but nobody hates it.
Yeah, it doesn't take a firm stance on anything.
As well it shouldn't.
Yeah.
Before we keep going, I do want to touch on the tea real fast. The tea that we are drinking today is Tiesta Tea's Fruity Paradise. And I want to say, let me say this. You brew it for, it could be anywhere between 1 and 3 minutes. I would say 3 minutes, and at about 175. But what I want to say is that Elliot is the first guest that we have ever had on the podcast who we have made iced tea for. This is an iced tea, and just so you know, it's typically 1.5 teaspoons per 8 ounces. If you're icing it, I say throw a little more tea in there because it'll be diluted by the ice cubes.
You know what? If you're not even icing it, throw a little more tea in there, because why not?
Are you down the barrel on that?
You've earned it. You have deserved it. You have deserved it for a long time, all right? And
I think you're talking to
it.
you to watch later.
I am, yeah. When I'm editing this, I'm going to be like, God damn it, you're right. I do.
So, in case people don't, this is such a good tea. I can't stop.
It is really
phenomenal.
Good. It's also hot today. Sorry to cut you off, but you didn't say that. So that made it sound like I walked in and I was like, I want an iced.
I wanted it to sound that way.
Okay.
Yeah. People may not know, because you made a comment saying when I edit this later. People may not know you are the producer and editor of this podcast. How much do you enjoy doing that? We're not cutting it. We're not cutting this. We're not cutting it. How much do you enjoy it?
I send you back the edit and you're like, yeah, it seems to be missing your answer to that question.
It's weird because I asked the question and then I went on to another topic.
Also, you left the question in, so you made it a point.
Yeah, you want me to know that you're blatantly not answering, which is weird because you said really introspective things in that moment.
And then I release the Elliot cut.
Yeah, exactly.
That has the answer. And it's also 4 hours long. So
hold on. I'm going back to the question. How much do you enjoy working on the podcast? So you're starting to like it more.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, I also I really like when things are like smooth, like working out a system.
Well-oiled machines.
Yeah, like you work out a system.
Yeah.
To where it's like bing, bop, boop, 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 boop. Because I also worked in kitchens. And so kitchens are very much like you figure out your system for whatever all the dishes, and then you just the most efficient. That's what I'm saying. I get off on efficiency.
You don't like the growing pains that come with.
And so that was coming in.
Yep.
I was like, okay, there's a lot of stuff to move around.
Yep.
And I like the challenge of it because I'm like, let's fucking figure out how to make this as smooth as possible. So that's why I say we're getting there, because we're changing the systems.
Yeah.
Making it more streamlined.
Yeah.
More universal. So this will hit with everybody in the country and we can fucking get that Pitbull money, baby.
I would love that.
You can shave
money.
your head. You can go Mr. Worldwide.
Can we skip the head shave?
And then I'll be living like DJ Khaled.
I don't think I know the story of, and we don't have to go deep into your stand-up history, but I don't think I know the story of what got you into doing stand-up. What's funny is you and I got connected and I have so little background on you.
Yeah.
Hit me.
This might not even be my real name.
I don't think it is.
It is. Damn it! I wasn't supposed to say
How many
that.
people know your real last name?
A good amount of people.
Really?
In comedy?
Yeah.
Oh, that is a good question. Because it was my Facebook name for a long time.
But it's not now.
And then I changed it maybe 2017, 2018.
So everyone in Los Angeles doesn't know your last name?
No.
You could rob a bank. People would be like, who was it? Elliott G-B? Nobody knows.
Yeah.
What brought you to stand up?
I always liked it. I always watched it as a kid.
Yeah.
I just always remember liking it and just liking comedy. And I would always watch like all that. And
loved all that.
Yeah.
Great show.
It's why I'm like very curious how many people it's like inspired in our generation, you know? Because now we're at the generation where it's like we're old enough to like actually be doing shit.
Yeah.
So to like go back and be like, oh yeah, I would watch it was insane. But yeah, so I just like always liked it but never, because I'm from Wisconsin, and so I like never knew anyone who did it. So I was like,
okay,
I don't even know how you do this. Like it wasn't even a thing you could really do, if that makes sense.
It does, because I think that that's a common pattern that a lot of us experience, which is like, oh, you could be a comedian?
Yeah. I didn't meet a comedian until senior year of high school because, you know, Nate Craig?
Yes.
We went to the same high school, different times, obviously.
Yeah.
But he's also from Madison. He went to the same high school. He had the same history teacher that I had. She had been there for a minute. And so he was headlining the club in Madison. And so he stopped by one day to like say what's up. And he was like telling us about the club and just like comedy and shit. And I was hanging on every single word, which if I can look down the barrel at my young self, that is a sign. When you don't pay attention to anything else in school, and then suddenly some dude comes in and is like, yeah, I do jokes. And you're like, tell me more. That's a sign that you're into that. So follow that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and
amazing.
then I didn't meet, I met him for the first time 6 months ago.
Did you tell him the story?
Yeah.
What did he say?
He was like, oh shit, I remember that. He was like, yeah, that was crazy.
And you were like, you're the reason I'm a comedian.
Well, he wasn't the reason, but
he was part of it.
Well, he was part of it, but it was like, yeah, it was just so, because it's like, the club in Madison is insane. It's very good. It's one of the best in the country. But
Comedy on State?
Comedy on State, yeah, shout out. But that's the only club in the city.
In Madison?
Yeah.
Madison's a big place.
Yeah, it's like 300,000 people, I think.
That doesn't warrant 2 comedy clubs?
No, because the club fucking kills it. I mean, there's theaters and shit, so people would do theaters when they would come through. But then there's smaller indie shows, but it's not like a big thing, you know? And plus, I didn't really know. My mom never really went to the comedy club, so I didn't like know anyone who would go. And so it was just like, I don't know. And okay, so then I graduated high school, and then I was just like, let's fucking party and skate and rage and do whatever.
You were a skater?
Yeah, I rollerbladed.
Huh.
Yeah, like Brink. You ever seen Brink?
Have I ever seen Brink?
What are you, X-Blades or Pup and Suds?
X-Blades.
Damn, bro. You really are corporate. We're everybody.
Listen.
Honestly, it was a joke, but with that answer, I think you could have a commercially Pitbull podcast.
If I can, I would happily be Pitbull just for a day.
For sure.
Here's the interesting about Pitbull. Like, he gets shit on, and fair enough. He doesn't care.
Yeah, he's Mr. Worldwide.
He's literally like, cool, I'm going to count my money while you're talking shit.
Yeah.
And like, I'm going to pay someone to make noise so I don't have to hear you because I can afford it.
Yeah.
Like, good for him. I don't listen to his music, but like, props to him.
Yeah, no, fucking do what you, Flo Rida. Do what you got to do.
I actually like Flo Rida. I think his music is fun.
So I watched a lot of comedy as a kid.
Not even responding. Okay, yeah. Wow.
But then when I was probably about like 20, I had a friend who would do the open mic at the club. I didn't go to college, but he went to college. A bunch of my friends from like middle school and high school went to college at UW. And so I would just like go hang out with them and party and shit. And then he would do the open mic. So we would go to the mic at the club to like support. And just your classic sitting in the crowd being like, I can fucking do this shit, you know? So you see some people go up there and you're just like, what are you doing? But then I would also see other people that I really did like. And so I'm like, oh, okay. But I'm also realized I was watching with like a comic's eye, essentially, and being more critical and looking at different things than anyone else. Because my friends would always be like, oh, you never laugh at shit. And I go, no, I think it's funny, but like I'm not. It doesn't.
I very rarely laugh.
It doesn't catch me off guard enough to, you know, it's like I'm thinking I can figure out the joke or whatever. But then when I do laugh out loud, that's where I'm like, oh, I fuck with this person like heavily because they're, you know, they're some like Rory Scovel, where you're just kind of like, I don't know what's happening.
I mean, that's a great,
like,
great choice.
Yeah, and my mom is the same way too. My mom has such a funny fake laugh. It's not fake, but it's like when it's
forced.
It's no. It's 100% real. I shouldn't have said fake. It sounds fake, but it's 100% real. But it's for when something is like just enough to get a laugh, but not enough for like a full on. So she'll just be like, eh. And I do the same thing.
I've never heard you do that. That's not saying a lot.
But it's like watching TV. If something's like mid, you know, funny, she's like, ah. But her face never changes. And so I'll always call her on it. But she doesn't realize she's doing it, which is the funniest thing.
I would be scared to show her, to perform in front of her and hear that noise in the crowd.
Oh, no, she's great in the crowd.
Hmm.
But it's like so funny because it's kind of, she's the same way, where it's like the comic laugh a little bit. It's like, oh, it's funny. Like I liked it. I enjoyed it.
She acknowledges the funny.
Yeah, and that's what that is. So I'd call her out. I'd be like, was that a fake laugh? And she's like, no, why? Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, your face did not change at all. And it was one note.
Has she seen you perform?
Yeah, my mom comes to shows all the time.
And you're not a clean comic.
Mm-mm.
But I haven't seen a ton of your stuff.
Mm-mm.
Do you do anything sexual?
Yeah, but not like sexual to be sexual.
Sure. I think most comics would claim they don't do sexual to be sexual.
But a lot of them do.
True.
You know, they're like, no, I'm not a dirty comic. And then they get up and they're like, so I was beating my dick with a bag of Skittles.
Hey, I don't want you to poach my jokes. I don't want you telling my jokes
on
the pod.
Yeah. No, I changed it. I didn't say the tropical ones.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I actually started getting more laughs at M&M's.
Okay.
Actually, you would never get more laughs on M&M's.
And this is why we got to workshop it, you know? This is what people don't realize about comedy.
Mike and Ike.
Not every candy is funny.
I would actually argue that Skittles is a much better name than M&M's, but
yeah, Skittles is a funny name.
Yeah.
I actually just listened to, oh my God, this is so funny. Ron Funches was talking about on his podcast, so he had a joke where he would throw Skittles out into the crowd, and then the guest as a joke was like, oh, did you workshop that? And he's like, no, yeah, I did. He's like, I tried different candies. And I think he tried peppermint patties at first, but those are too big. And he said the sound of them hitting the ground when no one would catch them was the saddest thing in the world. So he's like, I switched to something else, and Skittles ruled.
Yeah, I remember once I had to change a word in a joke from the word extracurricular to hobby because I would be dreading during the entire set getting to the word extracurricular.
Oh yeah, I have moments like that too where I'm like, don't fuck these words up, and then I do every time. Is it because your mouth was dry?
It happened twice, and that was enough for me to never use the word again. And I'm sure it was because my mouth was dry. I don't know.
That's a good habit to have. Not a lot of comics have that, or artists in general, is to be able to kill your babies with a cat.
Kill your darlings.
Kill your darlings. What, same thing. But
my baby is my darling. Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, it'd be a little weird if it wasn't.
It is. It is my darling.
But yeah, not a lot of people can do that, and that's, I think, a very valuable skill, is to just be like, oh, this isn't working. Okay, move on, and not even like throw it away. Be like, oh, I'll come back to it.
Yeah.
But it's like I'll do that where it's like if I have a bunch of shows coming up and I'm trying to like work something out and I just can't get it, I'm like, all right, well, I'm just not going to do it for the rest of these shows because it fucks up the rhythm, and then I'll figure it out later.
Oh, I take every show and try something different and see which one lands.
Yeah, I'll do that enough times, and then if I'm still it's not where I want it, then it's like, all right, I'll move on and come back to it.
I respect that.
But it's also a thing where you just have to like trust yourself and be like, yeah, I'm gonna have more ideas about stuff in general.
How old were you when you went to that open mic?
Oh, I don't know. I think I started. I don't remember exactly when I started, but so anyways, yeah, went to the open mic.
Yeah.
Was like whatever, and then I tried it. Had a good first set. Good in the sense that it wasn't terrible.
And then how bad were your next 10?
Oh, especially going from the mic. The mic at that club is a show.
Sure.
It's sold out.
Doesn't happen in LA. But
It's like 200 people, audience, and they're down to clown. And so it's great. It's
so
amazing.
Comedians bring more of their A game there than they do here.
Yes. So that's why starting there, I was like, oh, fucking this is comedy. This is it. And then you go to your first non-club mic where you're in the basement of a bar or the back corner of a bar or somewhere in a bar, and it's just comedians.
Yada, 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 bar.
Yeah, it's just comedians. And then you're like, oh, this
suck.
this isn't fun. And that's where it's like, well, you got to get used to that. So I don't remember. Are you one of those people that knows exactly when you started? You have like your anniversary?
No, because I have been doing storytelling for so long and intertwining it that it's hard for me to say, well, when did it become stand-up and when didn't it? Also, I mean, I've been doing improv and sketch since I was 18. So
okay.
It's a little...
So yeah, you've been performing.
I think that when I came to stand-up, and my biggest obstacle is still writing the best joke I can versus having stage presence. Stage presence is not as much of a concern for me. I'm that's pretty regulated over the course of years. But like writing jokes where I go, that joke is undeniably funny. Like I'm not there yet.
Yeah, you got to write, buddy.
I know. Yeah, because we've had that discussion before because I don't write and you do.
Well, so that's funny because I started 2013 is when I like just because I was like it was either 2012 or 2013. I don't know. And so now I'm like it was probably 2013. So I just say 2013, but then I didn't take it seriously until 2017. And so by not taking it seriously, I meant I would just go to mics. I wouldn't get booked on shows. I didn't get booked on shows for a long fucking time.
Yeah.
And I would just go to mics and I would go up with my ideas that I had that I didn't really work out or anything, or I never wrote. I would write, but it was just like once every like it was bad. And then I just get fucking drunk and just party with everyone and be like, yep, this is it. This is the comic life. This is how you just keep doing this long enough and you're going to get there.
Yeah.
And then 2017, I got into a festival in New York, and that's when I was like, whoa.
What are the air quotes there?
Have you ever heard of the Devil Cup?
Vaguely.
It was like a competition. It was a festival for people 5 years and under, but then it was also a competition, and it was a shit show. But that's when I was like, oh, all right, I'm going to New York. This is the big time. And so I like made a website, got business cards. Did you ever get comedy business cards?
No.
That's a rite of passage. Because then you get them and you're like, I need these. And then you realize you're never going to use them ever. Especially now with social media, because everyone's just like, oh, what's your Instagram?
I will say I was performing in Amsterdam a few weeks ago and two different people came up to me and asked for my business card.
Really?
Yeah. I was like,
how European?
Don't have one. That is so interesting. Okay, so then you officially feel like you started trying in 2017.
Yeah, that's when I was like, oh, I got to work at this. Then I was like, okay, let's start taking this seriously. Started like
this was still in Madison.
No, this was in Seattle.
You already moved to Seattle.
Moved to Seattle 2015. And honestly, when I got there, I worked at I worked in the Microsoft cafeteria at their Redmond location, which cafeteria, it was just like a giant food court. So like there were different stalls with different restaurants and shit. So I worked
Was it free if you're an employee?
No.
Yeah, you're like,
I don't think so.
No.
Well, I cooked.
You know what? It's probably subsidized.
Yeah, there's probably something. But yeah, so I cooked for this pizza place that had a stall there, and then was just like, this is not the move. Because at that time, I originally wanted to be a chef.
So is that why you didn't go to college?
Yes. Well, sorry, this is all over the place.
No, hit me.
I didn't go to college. I wanted to go to Columbia in Chicago for graphic design.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, but
That's amazing.
I don't like drawing. I'm not good at drawing. I just like fucking around on the computer and like
Okay.
Photoshop and stuff.
That's still very valid.
Couldn't afford it because it was Columbia, and then was like, well, whatever. I'll try to work for like a year, save up money, whatever. Then started cooking, and then was like, oh no, I want to cook. I want to be a chef, and then couldn't afford culinary school. So then I was like, all right, well, and with cooking, there's kind of like two lines you can go. You can either go culinary school, which is where like you learn all the basics and everything right
Sure.
away, or but you don't get real world experience, or you could go, I'll work in a kitchen at
Like
an actual
line
restaurant, I'll line cook and learn real world experience, but not as much as the fundamentals. Or it's you have to piece it together from here and there, you know,
Interesting.
because you're not like doing the wide gamut of the whole world of food. It's one restaurant. So they're like, we're doing this shit, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah. But so with that, I was like, all right, I want to be a chef. Did that until 2013, and then found comedy. And then that's when I was like, oh, this is my thing. Well, actually, I didn't even realize that at first. I was doing comedy, but I was working nights. And so I was like, hey, I want Wednesdays off to go to the open mic, but then it's like, if I'm going to be doing shows, blah, blah, blah. And then I started working at a breakfast place, which sucked because then I had to get up super fucking early. But I was like, oh, my nights are free in my head. I was like, my nights
Your
are
nights
free.
aren't really free when you're staying out till 1 and have to wake up at 6.
Yes, exactly. And then did that, and then moved to Seattle, and then started serving at a jazz club. And
That sounds like a blast.
I loved it. But it was also, just being around music and that type of shit and seeing how a venue is run and how a successful venue is run. That was really important. But I just liked it so much and I needed to save on money. So I just did that for like a year and a half. I didn't really do much stand up at all. And then at a certain point, I was like, all right, let me fucking get back to it.
Yeah.
And then started like working at it, writing. And then 2019, I stopped drinking. And then that's when I really went hard on the writing because I was just like, I have all this fucking time and energy. When you're not sleeping until 1 and then you don't have to go to work at 4, if it's like if I'm waking up at 10.
Yeah, it's a
I'm just
different
like,
story.
Oh, shit. So, then 2019, I think, is when I really kind of powered up in a way.
I want to touch more on that. I do want to hit our first segment before we keep going.
Yeah, we're going into it. I'm talking. Huh?
I love this. Are you ready for the Newly Friend game?
Let's do it.
Okay, so the Newly Friend game, it is like the Newlywed game. Are you singing the stinger?
Yeah, I'm so used to hearing it.
You kind of, it's fun though, right? It's a good stinger.
Mm-hmm.
The Newly Friend game, it's like the Newlywed game, but we're friends. I'm going to ask you a question. You are going to write down your answer. Don't say it out loud. I'm going to see if I could guess what you're going to say. And then for me, we will sometimes do the same, sometimes do a different question, and same thing. You'll write down what you think I'm going to say, and we'll see if we get it right. We're going to do the same question today. I'm excited for this question. Just based on what you were just talking about. I had a different question, but we're throwing it out. We're going to a new one.
Audible.
What is, and don't say it, write it down. What is your favorite movie or television show that revolves around cooking or a restaurant?
Ooh.
Don't say it out loud. I want you to write down your answer. Okay, you ready? Flip your word on 3. 1, 2, 3. Flip. Whites, and then honorable mention is Waiting, and honorable mention is The Bear. So I guessed Waiting. So your honorable mention
Classic.
was my guess.
Yeah.
And then I guessed Burnt and The Trip.
I've never heard of those two.
Burnt is Bradley Cooper as a chef. I've not seen it.
Is that a movie?
Yes, but it looks interesting.
Oh, weird, because they tried to do Kitchen Confidential as a show based off of Anthony Bourdain's book. Very good book, by the way.
I've not read it.
Very good. They tried to do it as a show, and Bradley Cooper was the chef.
They did it as a fictional show.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in Burnt. I love that I got Waiting. What is Whites?
Whites is a British.
Like Dress Whites?
No, it's a British show. Came out, I'd say around like 2010, but it's good. Do you like British shit?
Yes.
I love British stuff. I feel like it's at a hotel, like spa getaway kind of thing. So it's like a really good restaurant, and then it follows like I think the sous chef taking it over. And
is it comedy or drama?
It's comedy. One of the main characters' name is Scoos.
I'm literally writing on the bottom of my board.
It's good. It was on Hulu. I don't know what it's on now. I haven't watched it in a while. I should probably go back. That's really good. But waiting, classic.
I mean,
that's just your classic. They got a lot of things right. Besides like all the gross shit where they were like throwing food around and all that.
Oh yeah.
Because I've never seen people do that. No one actually does that.
Well, I was a server at Applebee's.
Oh, did people do that at Applebee's?
No, but I was a server at Applebee's, so I can tell you that it was very okay.
Yeah.
It was very accurate, but like no one was like putting dandruff in food and like spitting
that
and stuff. That never happened.
Yeah, that's wild.
But like the part where like, you know, you talk shit about bad customers in the back, you eat out of the fry bin, like that kind of shit. Like, yeah, all that stuff happened. Doing the side work, all that stuff, that all happened.
Yep.
You know, yeah, I mean, like, and then all of us going out and getting drunk that night, all happened. All that stuff happened.
Work hard, play hard.
That part of it was really true.
Yeah.
Let's wrap the newly franked game. We're gonna do the same question for me because I have other questions I want to ask you, and we are coming up.
Oh, also the bear. The bear, because it's very good, but
realistic.
This ties perfectly into the PTSD. It is very realistic, where
chef,
you feel that fucking energy where it's like anything goes in the moment. Just be as direct as possible. Just yell at each other, but be direct. Because it's in the moment, and then afterwards it's like, yeah, it was all crazy. It was whenever. It's not.
Yeah, in the show they do this thing.
Yeah, it's not someone's like, hey, can I get well, okay, so this guy, he asked for, the cooks are like, just what do you want? Tell me I have a million things to think of. Just tell me what it is, and I'll do it. Don't give me a whole fucking backstory. Don't tell me what he's wearing.
Okay.
So I've seen both sides of it.
All right. So the same question for me. What is my favorite movie or television show that revolves around cooking or a restaurant? Flip your board on 1, 2, 3.
The Menu. I forgot about the Menu.
Ratatouille. I forgot about that. Love Ratatouille.
Well, yeah. So Julie and Julia, that is one of my favorites.
Julie and Julia is a great movie.
I love that movie.
It's a wonderful
I've
film.
loved it since it came out.
I can't believe I didn't say Ratatouille. That's a miss. I said The Menu. So you said Julie and Julia and Ratatouille for me. My answers were The Menu.
What is Big Night?
Okay. Big Night is a criminally underseen movie by our generation, but very seen by the generation above us and the generation above that.
Okay.
It is Stanley Tucci.
The Tooch.
Stanley Tucci.
I love the Tooch. Julie and Julia.
Yes. Well, he's in everything good. Stanley Tucci plays a chef of an Italian restaurant in the Bronx.
Okay.
And it all takes place in one night. And they are trying to the restaurant is struggling, and they're trying to get a big celebrity to come to the restaurant for that one night and make an incredible meal.
Oh, okay.
The movie itself is wonderful. There is a scene in the movie where you simply get to see from start to finish Stanley Tucci make a pasta dish.
Oh, that's tight.
From top to bottom. And there's no music, there's nothing.
Is it realistic?
Because
I'll tell you, I love the bear, but spoiler, that's not even a spoiler. There's a part in the first season where someone spills a bunch of, like, a Cambro of soup, a big ass fucking Cambro of soup, and then they just throw a bunch of towels on it, and instantly I was like, I'm out. It pulled me out. You would not waste good towels on that. You get a fucking mop.
Sure. This completely realistic because he's actually a chef.
Yeah.
He like is a wonderful cook in real life.
Oh, okay.
So
that's awesome.
He's making his pasta dish. And if you're looking for a movie where like tons of shit is happening and it's really crazy, that's not for you.
Yeah.
If you're willing to watch a movie that's kind of more of a mood and you're kind of watching these two guys and just hoping it kind of sorts itself out.
Yeah.
It's Stanley Tucci and Tony Shalhoub, and it is just they're great. I think it came out in 96.
Okay.
But it's absolutely wonderful. And I shouted out The Bear on mine, but The Menu to me blew me absolutely away. I thought it was incredible.
I really liked it, but then at a certain point, I realized I was like, Robin Williams would destroy as the chef, and then I spent the whole rest of the movie just being like, God, he would have killed that line.
Yeah, but you could do that with so many roles.
I know, but this one specifically, I was like, he would have destroyed. I still liked it, but it was I saw it in theater, and so I think I realized it halfway, and I was just like,
Sometimes now I watch a movie and I go, I would kill in that role.
That's because you're Mr. Worldwide.
I really am. They call me the Pitbull. I want to touch on something.
The Pitbull.
Yeah, I'm not Pitbull. There's already a Pitbull. You can put your board down. I want to
Thank you, chef.
touch on, and I hope you call me chef for the rest of the podcast. Because you mentioned this right before we went to the Newly Friend game. You said you really started doing comedy in 2017, but once you stopped drinking in 2019 is when you really kicked it into high gear.
Yeah, I got really into writing.
So I have a bunch of questions, and you could pick kind of what order you want to answer them in, if you want to answer any of them at all. Is what kind of made you want to stop drinking? Was it hard being a comedian, not drinking in a world of a lot of people who have alcohol problems? And then also going into the pandemic in 2020, a time where boatloads of people were drinking to cope, and you had just given it up. Were there any temptations to go back?
No. And I'm not going to tell you what question that answers. No to the last one. So yeah, I quit drinking. I didn't drink until I was like 18 or 19.
Oh, okay. So like kind of, this is going to sound bad, but like kind of late.
Yeah, no, very late, especially in Wisconsin. Very late.
Yeah. I didn't start till I was 17.
I knew kids that would fucking go get blackout drunk at lunch and then come back, or they get blackout drunk before school and then go to school. And that's where I'm like, why don't you just go anywhere else? Why are you here? But yeah, so that was very late. And then yeah, just fell in love and really went hard. But then yeah, it did get to be a problem. And plus the contrast, I mean, we were kind of talking about this, the contrast of moving from heavy drinking culture to Seattle, which thinks it has a heavy drinking culture, but not as much as the Midwest, and being like, oh, not everyone is doing this. This is interesting. But yeah, it started to get really bad. And to start, I just started doing to kind of not like wean off, but to not just like right away cold turkey, I'm done. I would do, as an incentive to not drink, for every day I would drink, I would have to take a day off consecutively. So if I drank 2 days in a row, I'd have to not drink for 2 days in a row. So
I see.
So the more I kept going, so it's like if I drank 3 days, I'm like, fuck, I know I'm going to have to do 3 days off, and that's going to suck. So that kind of helped like divvy it up a little bit. But then, yeah, I read The Easy Way to Quit Drinking, which...
Is that the name of a book?
That is the name of the book, and it sounds very like get rich quick, you know? Like it's very like, that's a very on the nose, you know, title.
It is an on the nose title, yeah.
But it works. It's insane. It works. I heard Dan Soder talk about it on a podcast, and then Nikki Glaser talked about it, and it like deprograms you from alcohol. Because I, especially in Wisconsin, did not realize how much everything was centered around alcohol. Everything social was centered around alcohol being present.
Don't you feel that a lot of comedy is centered around alcohol?
Yes, because it's a show, it's a venue. So from the business standpoint, yes. Yeah. But so I guess to answer that question, because of that book, I don't have the urge to drink. And I mean, part of it too is also knowing like that first hangover back is going to be insane. Also, now I'm older, so it's like my hangovers were already starting to get really bad, and so I was just like, okay, if I do get back on the wagon, it's gonna suck physically. Yeah, so going out to comedy and shit, I was just like, I don't really have the urge. Plus, too, then I got used to not that I would go up and be like super drunk on stage, but I've had drinks and shit before. And so I'd be buzzed, and there would be times I'd go up, and then the next day I'm like, I don't remember what the fuck I said. I don't.
So you would do jokes drunk?
Yes.
I've never had a drink before going on stage.
Oh, really?
I don't do it.
When I started, I would do a shot, right? Like when I was coming up, because I wanted to drink something, but I didn't want a stomach full of beer.
I once heard a really interesting comment that John Mulaney made, which is maybe a bad example to use given he was just coming out of rehab, but
you know, I'm gonna have a special like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a baby with Olivia Munn, and then
sure, yeah. Which is, you know, if there's consent there, go nuts.
For sure.
He said at one point where he was kind of learning from Birbiglia. Birbiglia took him out, and he was about to go on stage. He was doing 10 minutes opening for Birbiglia, and he brought his beer on stage and came off stage. And later in the night, Birbiglia was like, "Did you get that thirsty in the 10 minutes you're on stage?"
Yeah.
And Mulaney was like, I mean, I guess not. He goes, cool. So, like, why do you need to bring a beer on stage?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And now every time I see comics at open mics or at shows, bring a beer on stage for a 10-minute set, I'm like...
Any drink on stage, I'm like, I better see you take a sip.
Well, so I'll tell you this. on the rare occasion that I'm feeling a little under the weather, I'll bring water on stage.
Do you drink it on stage?
I have, because I've had only when I'm sick.
Yeah.
When I'm not sick, when I'm doing like a 30 or 40-minute set, I bring
then
water.
it's
But if I'm not, no. And if I'm not doing that long of a set and I'm healthy, no. If I'm under the weather, I will, because I'll get dry throat on stage.
Yeah, I'll bring water up because I'll get, but it also depends on how long the set is.
If not for a 10-minute set,
no, that's where I'm like, fucking whatever. But so if someone does, in my head, I'm like, because I watch too, and I'm like, I better see you take a fucking sip, otherwise you'll look dumb.
And what I often wait to do is wait for a big laugh. And when I get a laugh,
yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, you have to try to time it. Have you ever tried to time it and then the laugh doesn't go as long as you thought, and then you're like, ooh?
No, I'm really good.
Okay. So that Skittle thing, it really hits.
Honestly, you'd be shocked, because I tried peppermint patties, didn't land. But Skittles, yeah, nails it.
Skittles hit.
But I mean, it's challenging. Comedy shows pay in drink tickets. Yes. Comedy shows often go, hey, get yourself a free drink.
Yes.
All that stuff. That doesn't bother you at all?
Oh, that does, yeah, because I'm like, I want money.
I mean, bothers you from the source of temptation.
Yes, but so this is where I would say I feel lucky in the sense that I can be around booze and be fine, but I know that's not the case for a lot of people. And I honestly didn't expect it to be that way, but I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm fine being around it. So that's why comedy isn't as bad. But if you didn't have that, then I'd be like, yeah, this would be a very hard thing to try to do, because it's all at bars, it's all at venues. They make their money on liquor sales.
Oh yeah.
So it's gonna be there. And then there's always, the comics who want to be like how I was, where it's like, oh, we're fucking partying, this is fun, we're doing it, And I guess it's kind of like that was when I started treating it as a job,
Mm-hmm.
And which I mean, I had been doing before, because I was always like, if you treat it as a job, then it'll be a smoother transition once it becomes a job. But yeah, with that, I mean, that's when I started writing like humor pieces and like submitting to shit, like essays and stuff.
I didn't know you write essays.
Yeah, I've had a couple things published by Flex, which is like a satirical blog kind of site, like hip hop oriented, and then I've had 2 things published by the New Yorker online.
Why don't you ever share that? Do you
in conversation?
Yeah.
I'm from no.
Am I the only one in your life who says that you hold back?
No. I'm very shy. I'm very shy and I'm introverted. So if I'm out and I don't know people, I'm not talking to anybody.
I still don't think you're fully comfortable around me. And we've worked together for a couple months.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Okay.
We're getting there.
I am dying to know you more than I think you want to give up of yourself.
It's because I'm a little mystery boy.
I hate to do this, but are you ready to go to the lightning round?
Yeah.
Okay, question 1. What is a favorite ritual of yours?
Oh, I've thought about these answers too. I'm so excited.
Yeah, because you know these questions.
I'm so excited. And now I'm fucking blanking. A ritual,
You strike me as a ritual guy, so I feel like there are some here.
So now every day, it's not at a certain time. It's usually at the end of the day. I'll do some crosswords, the New York Times crosswords.
Full one?
I just got the app. Best money I've ever spent.
I can't do the full. I do the mini. I do the mini on New York Times.
Oh, I do the mini just to compete with my friends and try to stunt on my score. But yeah, I do the full one. I love crosswords.
I'm not good enough to do it.
Love crosswords.
Interesting.
Crosswords, and then also real quick, I love updating my phone apps. I don't know why it brings me so much joy.
Auto updates.
It brings me so much joy. But I love going in and seeing what has an update available and being like, I'm gonna do this one. I'm gonna do that one. I'm gonna do that one. I don't know.
That's a
why.
great answer.
I don't know why, but it gets me fucking going.
Question 2. What is a running bit you have with a friend or partner that makes you laugh?
Have a lot.
Good. You don't have one with me.
I'll say this. I'll give you a couple. My mom, we have one. It's this thing we made up called a crack helmet, because I was a skater as a kid. My mom one time in the car tried to give me a talk about how I need to be careful and wear a helmet, but then she also tried to like loop in a drug talk around like in that same thing.
You can't do both.
And my mom is very funny. We riff a lot. And so then it ended up us riffing about, well, if you're going to smoke crack, you have to wear a helmet.
Sure.
And so now the inside joke is crack helmet. Me and my best friend Lurch.
I'm sorry, what's your best friend's name?
Well, his name is James Bester. Shout out James Bester. He's an artist. He's really fucking coming up. Check his shit out. What kind of art does he do? He did ceramics. Well, he still does ceramics and then like painting too. But he's like, dude, he's dope. He's in Portland.
Where can we find him?
Check his shit out. Black Pothead.
At Black Pothead?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. What is your bit with
we have
him?
one that we've been doing since I think like high school, where it's like the TV dad thing, you know, where they like say this is like the door jam, you know, and you're just like in your room doing whatever, and they just like come and they go, hey, proud of you. And then they walk away. Or they do like the knock, like, hey, little buddy, how we doing? You know, just like peek in.
Yes.
And so now we always say, I'm proud of you. But the goal is to be at the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
It's the last thing, and then you hang up. And so the goal is to trick the other person into being like, what? So then you go, I'm proud of you. Then you hang up really quick. Best feeling when you pull it off, worst feeling when it happens to you. Because you're like, you motherfucker.
Does he just go like, oh, by the way, did I tell you? And you're like, what? And he's like,
no, a lot of the time it is like, hey. Like, oh, hey. And you're like, what? But if you know it's the end of the conversation, then you know it's coming. And you're like, I'm not going to give it to you. I'm not going to let you do it.
Question 3. Can you do an impression of one or both of your parents?
Yeah, I kind of already did one of my mom, of her laugh. My dad, he's only done this like once or twice, but again, it's stuck with me so hard. He will watch something based on a true story.
Okay.
And then at the end, he's probably only done this once, but he'll go, and that's how it happened.
I actually like that.
But he's not like, he's just like, yeah, that's how it happened. And then he'll just like move on. And I want to be like, I know you don't know all of that information. But so now whenever something's based on a true story, I go, yeah, that's how it happened.
Yeah, that's how it went.
That's how it is.
Have you ever experienced imposter syndrome? Question 4. Have you ever experienced imposter syndrome? If so, is there a time that sticks with you?
All the time.
Working with me.
Yeah. So I'm like, fuck, I wish I had that Skittles bit.
Listen, it is going to crush. That's specifically a Mr. 305 bit.
I'm still on Smarties, dude.
Yeah, I know.
My hands
doesn't
my pockets are full of powder and chalk.
Well, that's a different problem.
Yeah, I stopped drinking. I picked up cocaine.
Yeah.
And people say don't do it, but I'm having a great time.
Yeah. I want to give you the first part of the sentence. I'll give you the second part of the sentence that my therapist said to me today was, yeah, and that is why I suppose some people do a lot of cocaine.
You're like, I just asked you if you had any weekend plans.
But yeah. I literally just said, so same time next week?
And he goes, yeah, that's why people do cocaine.
That is why. Wait, so you said a lot of times. What is there a specific
time?
A
lot of the time. Yeah, I mean, fucking New Yorker, dude. I failed every English class. I mean, one, because I just didn't like school and I didn't do homework. I loved writing and I was good at writing.
Yeah.
But I just never did homework. But like, yeah, I got published by the fucking New Yorker. I don't even know how a semicolon works. Like legit, I've tried
all the time.
I don't know the difference between effect and effect, the A and E. I just learned, I had to teach myself the apostrophe S, possessive.
Yeah.
Last year. But yeah, I feel imposter syndrome all the time.
Interesting.
I mean, even opening for Soder.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but
I mean, you know,
it's on the books.
But when it does, don't you feel that like the 10 years you've put in warrants that experience?
Yeah.
There you go. So I think you need to think about it from that perspective.
Yeah, it's the New Yorker one was really the big one because that literally this isn't a brag. It was I submitted stuff to Flex because they had like an open submission, and my friends in Seattle were like, "Hey, this is happening, whatever." Pitched some stuff. They wanted 2 articles. My first article, sent it out. And then someone from the New Yorker contacted me and was like, hey, saw your article. Like, I run the Shouts and Murmurs or whatever. Feel free to pitch, you know, anything else. So I'm like, all right. I've never read the New Yorker. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck they think is funny.
Sure.
So then it was just like, okay. The first thing I pitched, they were like, yeah, we'll take it. And then wrote that up. It was like a cult. event planner, like looking for a new job. So it was like their kind of like classified ad of like, hey, here's my experience. Like I'm just trying to like
I've done Jamestown.
I'm trying to find a new
Waco.
cult. Yeah, like that type of stuff. But yeah, that's where I was just like, I don't know. I had never pitched anything to anybody before. I had never like, I mean, even like my friend Chris Mejia had to fucking tell me with like comedy shit, like you have to follow up on emails. Like I don't know business email etiquette at all. So I would send something out and I'd be like, yeah, I haven't heard anything. And he's like, well, did you follow up? And I was like, no. Why would I do that? That's annoying.
Do you know what the big secret is?
What?
It's $1 million secret. Use Gmail. I don't have to ask that. I know you do.
Yeah.
Because I get emails from you. Send your email. Press send. Then write the entire follow-up email and schedule send it for 2 weeks from that moment.
Oh. Because then I would forget that I did that. And then if they responded, that would still
when they
go
respond,
out.
it shows that you have a scheduled message pending, and then you just cancel it.
Oh. Would you look at that? 2023.
Josh Lanzet at your service.
They really thought of it all. Mr. Worldwide.
Mr. 305, baby. Final question. I typically say, what is your favorite tea or comfort? But you have drank a ton of teas here.
Yeah, dude, I'm fucking
being the producer of this podcast, you have drank so many more teas than the average person.
I have high tea.
What is your favorite tea?
You know, honestly, and this is going back to working in restaurants. It's probably just green and mint together.
Okay. A specific brand or just green and mint together?
Whatever the restaurant serves, because I drink that for free. And I would, just throw it in a mug. Well, I would drink a lot of coffee. And then at one point I was like, all right, let me try to curb the coffee a little bit. Because I'm like fucking pounding coffee at 10 p.m. And then I was like, let me try tea. And yeah, I just do green and mint together in a cup with some hot water. And then let it sit for probably an hour, because then you get busy and whatever, and just come back to it. And
heavy over steam, which I don't mind. But
but because that's how I started drinking tea. Now it's like that's over steeping is not a thing to me. You put the tea bag in, you put the water in, you go about your day. And then I'll do a little refill too. When I finish the first one, I'll use the same tea bag and put more water. That's
great.
Yeah. But so that's not even a thing to me. There's no such thing as over steeping.
How do you feel? You just did steep conversations. Does it feel good?
Alive, fresh.
What are the chances you go home tonight and think of all the things you wish you'd said?
Pretty high.
Great.
No, I think I got most of them.
I think you did great. We'll have you back, I think, because we didn't touch on a lot of things.
I was going to say, we got to talk comedy.
I know.
Watch me get back into cooking now. I'm just like, actually, you know what?
You can cook for me if you want.
Nah, I'm good.
Okay. Thank you, my man. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
That was Elliott G-B. You can find him on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Grant Radish. You can find his podcast, Burning the Light, wherever you get podcasts.
We'll be back next week, so until then, happy steeping. Do you not hear? You can erase the mine. I usually leave a paper towel there. You're getting a half-ass treatment.
You're not giving me the star treatment here, buddy.
You know what? I texted you to find out what tea you wanted, and you did not give me a proper response.
I said twisted.
That wasn't one of your options.
I'd relapse for this show.
Yeah, I'll bet.